I want to read Ezekiel chapter 9, verses 1 to chapter 10, verse 2, and talk about what it means, what it meant when it was written, and how we might apply this text to our lives today. Then he shouted in my ears, "Approach, you who are to visit destruction on the city, each with his destructive weapon in his hand." Next I noticed 6 men coming from the direction of the upper gate, which faces north, each with his war club in his hand. Among them was a man dressed in linen, with a writing kit at his side. They came and stood beside the bronze altar. One of the men in the vision looks like a scribe, and I imagine him with a modern equivalent. He's got a clipboard in his hand. He's recording the destruction, and he's making sure that those who will be spared are spared. The first way I would think in terms of applying this in our everyday life today is to ask the question, is your name on that clipboard? I pray that it is. You will not be spared by living a decent life. None of us are decent enough. There's only one thing that will protect you from the wrecking ball of God's wrath. Jesus Christ took the punishment that we deserve for our personal sins. Come to him if you want your name on that clipboard. May the Lord draw people to himself through these words. Then the glory of the Lord, the God of Israel, went up from the cherub where it had rested to the threshold of the temple. He called to the man dressed in linen, who had the writing kit at his side. The Lord said to him, "Go through the city of Jerusalem and put a mark on the foreheads of the people who moan and groan over all the abominations practiced in it." While I listened, he said to the others, "Go through the city after him and strike people down. Do not let your eye pity, nor spare anyone. Wipe them out, but do not touch anyone who has the mark. Begin at the sanctuary." So they began with the elders who were at the front of the temple. He said to them, "Defile the temple and fill the courtyards with corpses. Go." So they went out and struck people down throughout the city. While they were striking them down, I was left alone, and I threw myself face down and cried out, "Ah, sovereign Lord, will you destroy the entire remnant of Israel when you pour out your fury on Jerusalem?" In the vision that Ezekiel saw, the man with the clipboard marked the people who sighed and groaned over the idolatry and hypocrisy that had infested their city. Those acts of conscience were what the clipboard man was looking for. When he saw someone who felt sick over the moral state of Jerusalem, he would mark that person's forehead. The mark was a sign that this person would be excluded from the judgment. Because they did not ignore the evil present among them, they would be spared when God came to punish it. Alexander writes that this was a mark of protection from the judgment to come. The other 6 men in the vision were sent to smite the unrepentant people, beginning in the sanctuary with the idolatrous leaders, for they were the heart of Judah's problem. However, the 6 officials were exhorted not to approach any with the ink mark on their foreheads. My friend, don't try to close your mind to corruption and hypocrisy and injustice and violence and prejudice and other forms of evil. If you can do nothing else, let your voice be heard. That simple act of conscience may save your life. Our God will not stay hidden. When he shows up, he will deal with evil. If you do not say something now, you might be included in the slaughter. May the Lord give us wisdom and courage to speak up. He said to me, the sin of the house of Israel and Judah is extremely great. The land is full of murder, and the city is full of corruption. For they say, the Lord has abandoned the land, and the Lord does not see. But as for me, my eye will not pity them, nor will I spare them. I hereby repay them for what they have done. Next, I noticed the man dressed in linen with the writing kit at his side, bringing back word, I have done just as you commanded me. As Ezekiel 9 concludes, the dark vision becomes even more terrifying. It is a simple vision of 7 men, 6 of them sent to destroy Jerusalem for their sins, and the 7th was something like, he had something in his hand like a clipboard, or marking the heads of those who will be spared. Now, get the significance of what the clipboard man says in this text. He says, I have done all that you have commanded me. In other words, the remnant has been marked, so now the destruction can begin. As our generation goes deeper and deeper into the darkness of rebellion against God and his righteousness, one wonders whether we will see on a planetary level what Ezekiel saw in this vision. Will this generation see a day when the secretary has no more names to write down, no more boxes to check? When the last box is checked, the destruction will begin. Hell has been a slow train coming, but when it comes, only those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life will avoid it. For everyone else, the fire will be unquenchable, and it will destroy soul and body. We seek the Lord's will and plead for him to put us on the list and to help us get others to do the same. As I watched, I saw on the platform above the top of the cherubim something like a sapphire resembling the shape of a throne appearing above them. The Lord said to the man dressed in linen, Go between the wheelwork underneath the cherubim, fill your hands with burning coals from among the cherubim, and scatter them over the city. He went as I watched. We've been looking at a vision about a man with a clipboard. He continues to be featured in this vision as it concludes from Ezekiel 9, but his purpose has changed. Whereas he was last seen writing people's names down who will be spared from the imminent destruction of Jerusalem, now that time is finished. He's put down his clipboard and is now instructed to pick up some hot coals and scatter them over the city. This element of the vision was literally fulfilled when Jerusalem was burned by the Babylonians in 586 BC. But I think the vision can be applied on a planetary level as well. Ellicott writes, Hitherto in Ezekiel 9, he has been employed only in a work of mercy and protection. It is not without significance that now the same person is made the agent of judgment. As God's love is turned to wrath by man's impenitence, and as his blessings given to man become curses by their abuse, so those employed by him as the instruments of his loving kindness become the very executioners of his fury. As Alexander puts it, the man with the inkhorn returned from giving the mark of protection to the righteous and was sent forth again with fire of God's judgment. Niehaus puts it this way: God's judgment takes the form of apocalyptic fiery coal scattered abroad by the man clothed in linen, who thus emerges not only as a scribe, but as an executive secretary who both records the saved and carries out God's judgment. Today, God makes his angels available to us as ministering spirits sent out to serve those who will inherit salvation. Hebrews 1:14. But that ministry to human beings is a temporary assignment. One day, the list will be complete. Then the protecting angels will be reassigned. Don't count on your guardian angel to protect you when hell's flames are ready to destroy. Those flames cannot be extinguished even by an angel. May the Lord give us wisdom to seek his grace while it is available in Christ.